detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again. We're back in Horror Town this time around. It's 2018's Hereditary. But before we get into it, gentlemen, let's do a little bit of up or down. Now, the full trailer, I think it was, for Shazam just dropped like yesterday. Now, I think there had been a previous trailer that was like teaser. Is that not correct?
I think so, yeah.
What are our thoughts on this? Because I don't know a lot about Shazam, but it's a down. Like, I can only assume maybe it's a bad trailer, but it's awful. Like, it's not funny at all.
No, it's definitely a bad trailer.
And I thought that, maybe it was like a Deadpool or a Guardian of the Galaxy style sort of comedic one, but it just didn't do anything, that trailer, at all.
I hope they didn't show us any of the good jokes then.
My hope is that they've left all the good stuff out of the trailer.
It looks like Greatest American Hero or something like that.
Yeah. It just
looks alright.
There's a couple of things where he says a joke and it's like there's a pause and it's kind of like...
It looks like 2.5 Men without the laugh track. That's not good. That's all.
Jared, what's your take on this? Considering you're a DC guy.
I'm an up because I'm going to go see these ones, but yeah, it looks. The trailer didn't do a hell of a lot for me, as Gibbo said. Like, the jokes just didn't land. I'm cautiously optimistic because some of the words coming out from test screenings that have said it's pretty good in the vein of like Big, but based on the trailer,
didn't they say that about Suicide Squad though?
DC's got a habit of having awesome test screenings that
all the people work for DC.
Yeah, the Suicide Squad ones seemed a lot more transparent. These ones, I'm sort of I don't know whether to take them or not. But if I was going just on the trailer without having an affinity for DC and that sort of stuff, I wouldn't be pumped about it. So I'm still not pumped about it, which means I'll probably go in there and get a better experience than if I was excited by this one. But
sometimes it's good to not have high hopes.
The trailers, because I'm mixed on trailers. I want to see a bit of what you've got to offer, but don't give us all the best jokes. But then if you hold everything back, you end up with something that looks pretty stale. And Hellboy looks like a recent example of that because the first trailer was just awful, and then the second trailer came out and I'm like, hey, that looks all right. So. Still can't erase it for our least anticipated list.
No, it's still there. But strangely enough, Shazam was not on that list.
No. So
after seeing the trailer, it possibly should have been.
Yeah,
should move on to it.
So it's I'm an up, but if I was just going in without that prior kind of want to see any of those comic book movies, I'd probably.
So is anyone else an up on it? Or is everyone else a down here?
Yeah, I'm a half up.
Half up.
Look at
that.
Semi.
A flaccid up.
Yeah. You're flaccid. I am straight down.
Mate, apparently Aquaman was one of their good movies. This looks way worse than that, so I've got no hope. I will not watch that.
Oh dear.
Alright, okay. I'm going to throw a couple of quick pieces of news at you. Idris Elba is allegedly going to replace Will Smith as Deadshot in the new Suicide Squad.
Career suicide. Good stuff.
James Gunn.
No, look, you know what? I actually think that's not a bad choice.
I think it's a great choice.
I thought Will Smith was pretty good in the first one.
And I think now that Will Smith's vacated,
the best part of it,
the movie's got a chance to be good.
But he was the best part of the first one.
No, Margot Robbie.
Who was better? Cara Delevingne. Oh, actually, Margot Robbie was good.
Yeah. But Will Smith
Cara Delevingne's jiggly was better than Will
Cara Delevingne's just cardboard cutout.
No.
Hey, I'm the baddie.
Will Smith was good in the first one.
He was, yeah.
He was.
But it's coming, it sounds pretty good. Like, they're talking about King Shark, and because James Gunn's in it, he wants Dave Bautista. They're talking Idris Elba instead of Will Smith. They've cut Rick Flag, so Joel Kinnaman won't be in it. They want to get Amanda Waller back, same actress. So that was good.
Yep.
Margot Robbie back.
Any chance of getting Captain Boomerang back in
No, I think
play?
he's been cut.
You think he's been cut?
I think
Poor old John
Captain Boomerang.
That bloke is getting screwed.
That poor bastard is
He's
just
getting
constant
screwed.
left, right and centre. But yeah, Will Smith, he's the kiss of death at the moment.
Look, anyone who's seen the Aladdin...
We should have done up or down on that. I was like, this doesn't look too bad. And then you see him, you're like, oh my God, what have they done?
Plays the genuine Yanks.
And he goes straight for like Will Smith, Mike Lowry.
Yeah.
It's a blue Mike Lowry. And I'm like, that doesn't cut it.
That's exactly how Robin Williams played in the original. It's not like it's a timeless part or anything like that.
It's like we're going to replace a force of nature with a ridiculous looking Will Smith with dated unfunny gags.
The good news
He's
is
going to be a winner.
he's going to do Mike Lowry twice in the next couple of years.
Also, it's directed by Guy Ritchie.
What? I did not know that.
Yeah.
What
Holy
the
shit!
fuck? Guy Ritchie does Aladdin.
Oh.
What a sentence.
He's going to make a mozza, surely. Just because it's Aladdin.
Mate, all I think it'll
make a hell of a lot less than they think.
As soon as they released the trailer, the memes about the blue Will Smith just went everywhere.
Surely
He looks like a smurf.
I'm going to go with my...
Ridiculous. No, he looks like Avatar.
I'm going to go with my, hot predictions on box office again and say it's going to go minimum 500, sure.
Yeah,
just because of what it is.
But it's going to
cost... That's big money, baby.
It's cost a shitload.
Yeah,
and they're expecting, they'll be expecting big money.
Yeah.
That's
big
disgusting. God, it looks bad.
And Guy Ritchie, why would you put this in the hands of Guy Ritchie,
King Arthur.
who has got an absolutely...
Didn't you see the giant snake in King Arthur?
Shitful resume. And he doesn't even make these sort of movies.
You take that back. Lock, Stock, Snatch.
Lock, Stock and Snatch are gems. Everything else, it's an absolute crapshoot.
Rock and Roller was also...
What's his name? John
terrible.
Carter's going to play Aladdin. It's going to be good.
Oh, man.
Okay, the other one I recently came across, they're looking at making a gender swap version of Rush Hour.
Oh, come on. It worked so well for Ghostbusters. Let's just pump that
Considering
out.
the original Rush Hour is not great cinema.
It's terrible.
It's not great stuff.
Yeah.
I don't see the reason to reinvigorate this.
But
But see, isn't this like... I mean, call me crazy. You want to do the women's versions of everything. Isn't that kind of just insulting anyway?
yes.
Here's a shitty movie with a couple of average sort of middling stars.
But they're all
Let's make a
girls, so you
female
should
version
like
of
it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, why don't you just get good movies with women in them?
Yeah.
See, I was okay with Ghostbusters.
So was I. I thought that actually worked out.
I thought the movie was fine.
They're all comedians.
They were never going
Exactly.
to win, though. That's the
They were
problem.
never going to win. That's exactly
They were
right.
always pushing shit
I
up
still
here
reckon
the
they
moment
did
it
win.
came
I
out.
still reckon they won. That
Yeah, I
was
thought it
good.
was alright.
But I think, it was...
And the proof will be in the pudding.
Ask, what's his name? Kevin Feige. Or is it Kevin Feige?
Paul Feig.
Paul Feig. Ask, not Paul Feig, Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige, Paul Feig, same person?
No, but the proof will be in the pudding when they whip out this new one. If it's shit and it's all male actors, which I'm assuming that this is the new version of Ghostbusters that they're about to prep, is a male-led film.
But let's not forget that Ghostbusters 2 wasn't great.
No.
Like, so, I mean, I Ghostbusters I was okay with because I think that was important. Like, I heard a lot of, podcasters and articles from women that I respect as writers and they were talking about how they grew up wishing there was a female Ghostbuster. So I'm like, yeah, that's kind of important. And the movie was fine. Like, it was nowhere near as bad as people were making it out to be. It just wasn't a classic like the first movie.
Kristen
Like,
Wiig can mean anything, I'll be happy.
yeah, and what's his
Kristen
name?
Wiig's
Kate McKinnon was fantastic in that.
It would have had to be
What's-
the best movie of the year, though, for them to win. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Why are you doing Rush
And it would
Hour?
have to make a shitload of money too.
Why do you even need to call it a gender swap version of Rush Hour? Let's just say, hey, here's
Our Rush.
women in a buddy
Female buddy
comedy.
cop.
Here's our Russian. One of them's Chinese. Whoa!
It's just like there's no need for it.
Well, like
Don't call it Rush
something
Hour,
like
just
The
make it a
Heat.
good movie. Yeah.
Call it
That's what
Shanghai
that was,
Nights.
you know.
Oh, no, we did that already, too.
I mean, did we have to say Rush Hour? Did we have to, say Rush Hour was like referencing 48 Hours and shit like that? We didn't have to. So why don't we just make buddy cop movies with women?
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, like
Not-
you
not
can't be
point-
looking at the story of Rush Hour going, "This is it. This is what we need to do."
If you're looking at the script of Rush Hour, you're not going, now I respect women. You watch that.
I hope they retain the wipe yourself off. You did.
You know what actually reminds me of when they do this shit? You guys did the episode on Season of the Witch. Just make a movie on its own. It doesn't have to be part of this universe or franchise or something. Just do a standalone thing. Come up with an original idea, and it'll do much better.
Well, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
it's got to be cashing. What cash are you cashing in?
The
on
Heat,
Rush Hour?
the one that they brought out, The Heat, was basically...
Heat was awesome.
That was that. It was two female cops together, and it played like you would a Rush Hour or a Lethal Weapon or something like that, and it was fine.
It was really good.
And
I like
no
that.
one ever turned around and said, look, we're making an all-female Lethal Weapon. It's called The Heat. It's not...
No, because it was
there was
his own
no
thing.
point in pointing it out. But
You
why
don't
are
have
we
the
pointing this out?
expectations that way. It's much, much better way
Why
to
is
go.
Rush Hour the piece of shit you pick it up off the table and go, this is it, this is the one we need?
I'm sure they'll retain all the the racist humour that made that an absolute classic too. Like,
Well, either way, Rush Hour, Shanghai Nights, like all that stuff was just... You can't do that anymore. Everyone's smarter now, hopefully. Or are they? They go watching Aquaman now. So.
well, given the stink that's been kicked up about going to see Captain Marvel, I'm not sure everyone's so much
I haven't read any of
smarter.
this. I'm hearing a lot about the drama with it, but I didn't hear any of it.
Yeah, it was just BS. It's just, some people throwing their toys out of the cot because there's a woman in the movie. Like, just get over it.
Everyone knows it's pronounced Marvel anyway.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer to 2018's Hereditary.
Sorry about your grandma. You know you were her favorite.
Who's gonna take care of me when you die?
She isn't gone. You know you were her favorite. I swear I can feel her in the room. You know you were her favorite, right?
Something is happening. I think my mother put a curse on us.
Mom? I need to call the police.
The police can't help us.
Mom?
You know you were her favorite, right?
2018's Hereditary, directed and written by Ari Aster, produced by Kevin Scott Franks, who gave us John Wick, and Buddy Patrick, who was involved with Hacksaw Ridge and Split. And also Gabriel Byrne and Tony Collette are both executive producers. It stars Tony Collette as Annie and Gabriel Byrne as Steve. The budget was $10 million and the box office was $79 worldwide. Tony Collette had actually told her agent she didn't want to do any more dark films before she actually got this script. She loved it so much that she couldn't turn it down.
Yeah, and turns in quite the performance.
Yes, very fair call. Jared, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. Like, it's funny. Sometimes I just don't connect with these slow burn, real psychological kind of thrillery, horror-y type ones. But when they nail it, I just love them. Like The Witch and the Babadook. This one's similar. Like, it's just so creepy all the way through. It's so slow and so measured. Like, some things just take ages to play out. Someone just walking around the house or something like that. But it's got such an atmosphere to it. And it's one of those ones that, like, you finish it and you're just constantly going back over, what is this, what did this part mean? What did that part mean? Like, just constantly thinking about it and wanting to read other people's opinions on it to sort of gain a different understanding or a different view. And so, yeah, going back and watching it again, I was massive on it. I was teetering on a 4.5. I probably just downgraded a little bit to a 4 this time. But yeah, I love it. I'll definitely go back to this one quite a few times over the next few years, I'd imagine.
Maddie?
I absolutely love this one. To steal a line from Exorcist, it mixes lies with the truth to confuse you. That whole thing of you're not sure if it's a misperception of her mental illness in the family or what's going on with the occult stuff on the side, but I think it transitions in and out of that, and just some really good camera work, some very subtle things that have a really big impact.
Yeah.
I just loved it. 4.5 easily. I was teetering on 5. I really loved it.
Ooh. Put your pants back on, Matty.
Loved it.
You're right.
Same as these guys. Very, very, very cool movie. Right up my alley. Like, I'm not really a slasher horror guy, as you guys know. But the ones like Jared referenced, the Babadook, that's probably my favourite one. But this is really giving it a run. Sort of similar to Get Out and stuff like that as well, where they're a bit more mood driven and environment and that sort of stuff, where you listen to the score and it sort of keeps you on edge, and there might not actually necessarily be something unsettling happening on screen, but you still feel off for some reason. It's just really smart, and there's a lot of subliminal stuff that they're doing with different bits and pieces. So yeah, the guys have sort of said a lot of the other stuff as well, and we'll get into a bit more later on, but I'm a 4.5 as well.
4.5.
I didn't have a very long list of dislikes, put it that way.
Yeah.
Look, I didn't have a lot of dislikes either. I was like Jared. I teetered on 4.5, but went for 4. It's just really, really, it builds that tension, and there's a feeling of dread throughout. And it doesn't skimp. It doesn't rely on cheap jump scares to make you unsettled by what happens. And in fact, some of the scariest bits for me were Toni Collette losing her shit, like at the dinner table with the son, because it's kind of like, feels like,
it's real drama.
Yeah, and you feel like shit.
It's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. But she's giving him some stick, but then also saying all these things about, you
killed your sister.
That, all that stuff's involved. And the ending is just craziness. It's just pure craziness. But it works. It all seems to work. And I actually think this needs a second viewing.
Yeah,
I've only seen
it'd
it
have to be
once.
better. Yeah,
so
me too.
the ending didn't quite fully hit as I finished it, but you go back a little bit.
You'll give it another half star when
you go back and you think about a few things. You realise, I see why it went there.
You definitely pick up on things that happened. You definitely see, like the English teacher referencing things that are going on, and you're like, that just applies.
It just feels like every single shot has a purpose.
Yeah.
Every single word has a purpose.
I love how much this movie illustrates that if you put the right person, or the wrong person, if you want to put it that way, just standing somewhere in the camera and looking the right way, you can make me just shit my pants, basically.
100%. Yeah. There's just things in the background. It's similar to the It Follows stuff, like you referenced that before too.
Yeah.
It's similar to that in some ways, where you'll just be watching a totally normal scene and something just in the background's not quite right.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, fuck.
There's a lot of that in focus, out of focus stuff as well in this.
Yeah, no, it's really
And-
Oh
clever.
my god.
Speaking of It Follows and going into the starting off with the likes, it kind of has that vibe, that unsettling, slow moving.
Don't tell Maddie that. Maddie hates This Follows.
But what I mean is the way it's shot.
Yeah.
In the way everything's done really methodically. It's really so slow, but as you said, Maddie, everything has a purpose. So we're not doing something just to, we'll have the camera here so something can leap out at us.
Yeah.
That's not.
It's not lazy
trying
like that.
to do that sort of stuff.
One of the best parts was the ins and outs of the models too.
Yeah, that was my first like.
I know the director was sort of saying that plays into how they're not really in control, that they're kind of pawns in a game and stuff like that. So
Bait and that sort
but
of
the
stuff.
way that you're looking at the model, and then a scene will start, and the whole scene will just be the camera in the same spot.
Yeah.
Other times you're not even looking at the models, but then a shot starts the same way, and you're like, is this? For me, it played into, is this just Toni Collette sort of losing her mind a little bit?
Yeah.
And
Or
just
is
the way they
this-
finish it. The ending scene is the
looks
nativity
like
in
cut out.
reverse.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And just the way this movie starts, where it kind of comes in with a sort of a tracking shot
Through the
across
forest.
the models, and then it goes into the model, and then boom, we're actually starting.
Yep.
And that everybody in that sequence there is actually real.
Which is
It's
what
not
I
a model
thought
anymore.
watching the ad, which is maybe why it didn't make as much money as it did. I thought it was going to be about a microcosm of a separate universe that was being controlled by Toni Collette or something like that. I didn't know what it was going to be.
You're going the same
That-
elsewhere, mate.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't know what it was when I started watching it.
Yeah.
And it just freaked the hell out of me when I was watching it the first time. Second time I watched it and could pay attention to the details a bit more. And it's just phenomenal.
And honestly, that kid is super creepy looking.
It's good prostate. It's good prostate. She's a cute little kid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's different looking, but she's not anything like that.
But just everything about it, the mannerisms,
Yeah,
that
the click, yeah.
The creepiness just kicked in from the get-go. Like, when they get to the funeral and Toni Collette's talking, and then that creepy blonde guy's, like, just
Smiling
staring
in the
and
background.
smiling. I'm like, go away.
Stop looking at me.
Look at me.
yeah. Please leave the sequence now.
Just go back to that initial tracking shot, though, the pan into the miniatures. It actually reminded me of the opening scene of, which had a lot of talk about it, the opening scene of, what's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio when he's in the
Revenant.
fights in The Revenant. The first pan-in scene of The Revenant, you pan in and you're looking at these trees and stuff like that, and the whole scale of what you think you're seeing, it's like a reflection in water, and it's this real like mind trick sort of thing. The way he frames the shot, it's not what you think, and that was as soon as we pan into those models, that's exactly what it reminded me of, and it just straight away puts you where you know what you're seeing isn't necessarily what you think you're going to see.
And I think, and I'm assuming there's gonna be some slight spoilers around the place.
There'll be large spoilers.
Large spoilers.
Yeah.
So if you don't,
Watch it first, guys. Come on.
yeah.
Telegraph pole size spoilers.
Oh,
What I liked about the kid was, the kid was super creepy. Like, the first time we meet her, she's up in the fucking treehouse, sleeping there in a sleeping bag, and the father's like, "You catch me in the boat." Fire up.
He seems like a bit of a dick, actually.
Yeah. She's got all those little ticks, the stringy hair. Then there's the whole sequence where the bird hits the window and she cuts its head off.
With the scissors.
Nonchalantly cuts its head off.
that was creepy.
Which is
wasn't
some
it?
sort of, a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah,
Getting
and she's sitting there.
all the heads that
At
come off.
I believe she's at the funeral eating fucking bars of chocolate and mucking around.
With a snaggletooth.
Yeah. And then I think it's all about her. Like, as that starts to take shape, I'm thinking, right, this is like fucking Pet Sematary or something.
Yeah.
She's crazy or she's weird, and we'd just been told that grandma had done the breastfeeding and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And
And you
right.
see that in the model? Is there a little
That's
model
creepy,
with the
isn't it?
grandma?
The diorama with the boob out.
Very untidy. But then, boom.
Spoiler!
35 minutes in, spoiler alert, but she hits a fucking telegraph pole and dies. And I'm like, right, so where are we going now?
Yeah.
Like, what's this?
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the biggest shock things in any movie. Like
Pretty
that
much.
was so well done. No one saw
But
that
then
coming.
Pretty much why the most impactful death scene in any movie that I saw last year.
Just the
by
sound
a lot.
You
of
don't
it.
even
It's
see
like,
it. You
whack.
don't even see. You just see his reaction. He stops the car and he's just
Yeah,
breathing.
and then he has the quick glimpse at the mirror and then looks down before you see him.
You don't see anything. All you see is the empty seat.
Yeah.
It's like 5
so
minutes.
clever.
Like,
and then
you
the
see
next scene, he's in bed. You hear the mum screaming, and then
Yeah.
you see the head with the ants in it.
It's like
Brilliant.
maybe not 5 minutes, but it's a stretch of minutes where that happens. And seriously, when I watched it the first time, I was fucking in shock. I was just
Yeah.
there for like
Like
a minute or so going, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
and then he has that reaction of, oh, this isn't happening, or whatever he does, and
He's
just
not in
drives
shock,
home, and then goes into bed. The whole time the thing's going on, and then, as you said, right through until you hear her screaming. That whole scene is just, I was just sitting there like, oh my god, like,
Yeah.
just.
I actually
absolute-
paused at it because I was watching it and I got a text message from my wife. She's like, "Oh, you got to tuck the kids in." So I was right at that scene. That happened, and I got the text message. I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I paused the movie. I go and I tuck the kids in. I go to Riley. I'm like, "Something just happened in this movie." She's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I can't even explain it." Like, it was that massive. You just like the whole because I just assumed that she was the main. She was going to be the big bad or something like
all
Damien
going to have
Yeoman
something to do with her.
It was clearly there was something about her that we were going to unravel, which it kind of turns out there
is, but there
you
isn't.
expect her to be there the whole time.
It's a side piece. Yes, it does unravel something about her, but she's not doesn't need to be there for it.
She only shows up one other time in the movie when the soccer ball rolls off. Like,
Which again was
Wasn't it genius that click sound just to
Yeah,
pop that
in the classroom.
to create fear everywhere? It pops up like 5 times. And
Yeah, well, Tony Collette gets it as well.
Yeah,
she is absolutely fantastic.
Tony Collette.
Absolutely fantastic.
masterclass from her.
Yeah,
I
she
listened to-
runs the gamut, mate, and she nails it.
As research for this, I listened to the Now Showing podcast for those guys doing this, and the guy basically said, just give her the Oscar right now. Clearly didn't pan out for Tony, but mate, she should have got something for it.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Like, she is fully invested in everything. Like you said, if she didn't want this script and then she sees it and she's like, I can obviously do something with this.
Yeah.
This is next level.
And she, you know what? She hasn't got the kudos
that she deserves for
she
anything.
deserves. She has had some fantastic performances.
We're talking about Muriel here. This is
like if you couldn't get let's say a Kate Blanchett, say in Australia, if you got a Toni Collette, you're fucking laughing.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, shit, we're right on. Yeah, we're right here because she has had some fantastic performances, and this is just top of the line.
She's been in some massive movies though, and it never seems like
Triple X 3.
I wouldn't have gone with that one.
Paycheck was it Paycheck? Do you think she paychecked on that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The checks.
Isn't that
To make this
is she got
sort
the
of
blonde
film-
hair in that one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's
to make this sort of movie, she has to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, take.
No, but even like
big
something
little pictures.
like Signs, she's really good. Not
Sixth
Signs,
Sense.
sorry, Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, she's great at that.
In the Sixth Sense, she's really good, and she gets no one ever mentions her.
Yeah.
But this, mate, this is masterclass shit.
And there's that sequence where she tells to the group about her family history.
Yeah.
I was just sitting going,
She just keeps talking. She's like, I don't want to say anything, and then
It's
she
just the
keeps
most
talking.
awful family history you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Well,
Everyone else is
how's-
like, oh, my bloke just got hit by a car. This
I
is
mean,
fucking right.
how's that for like exposition stuff, like getting into the history of mental illness in the family and stuff like that? She is just absolutely.
It's just
nailing
like
it.
dad
She's
starved
nailing it.
himself to death, mum had dementia, brother hung himself and
'Cause he thought
blamed his
people were
mum
getting
because
put-
people were in her mind.
But he was obviously right, the
He was
brother.
right, yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing.
he was, yeah.
His mum was clearly doing that to
But
him.
it was
Yeah.
like, as soon as that scene's over, and it goes for like 3 minutes or something, I was just there going,
Oh my god.
Shit. Yeah.
That's when you ask her to leave. You're like, sorry, we haven't got your sort of trauma counselling here. You're out.
yeah, you need a team.
Yeah, we've got a bit of blend 43 and some milk arrowroots on the way out. When you go and talk to someone who's qualified,
You need a bottle of Jack and a line of Coke.
Jesus Christ.
But it's really powerful, and it gives the history in a real natural, emotional way, because she's really sort of worked up.
Yeah.
Her,
She
at
tells the story.
that table scene as well, where she's going off at her son. She's just so many of her scenes, but she's going off at him, and she's just saying, "Nobody in this family ever accepts responsibility for what they do," and she's just like 4 fingers pointing back at you. You know?
Yeah.
I love that line when she's blowing up at that, like that scene where they're all blowing up at each other is fucking great, like laying it all bare, like laying all the issues bare and stuff. But when she goes, you get that face on your fucking face.
How many times have you had an argument like that?
Well, that's it. You get it over. You just got to spout something. You haven't fully formed it yet, and like,
Mate,
she's
But
just
there's so many of those dichotomies in the script as well. Like in that same scene, release yourself or something like that. Or you mean you want me to release you from this? Like,
Yeah.
There's so many of those wordplay things in there. That whole thing of blame versus being blamed, it just pops up all the time.
I'll tell you what, mate. I forgot I think the best scene in the entire movie for me. I think it's I think she talks to is it Joni or
Joni, yeah.
She says, "Oh, look, I sleepwalk." And
the kerosene.
and
Oh my
one time I woke up and I was standing over my son's bed, and we were soaked in kerosene, and I was about to light the match, and I'm thinking, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you're like, oh, is it the phone? I'm here, the phone's ringing.
Look, I'm out of biscuits. Look,
She's insane. That scene as well where
we're gonna have to do this another night.
when Gabriel Byrne's bringing the son back from the school after he just smashed his face, and she comes running up to the car, just that whole thing of, is it mental illness or not? What's actually behind this?
Yeah,
she
once-
plays that so well.
yeah. Once she goes into the seances, it's like you can buy everyone's. Like
Yeah.
you can see her just clinging to something, but you can also see the other angle of Gabriel Byrne just going, "This is just
Craziness.
stop this."
Her
you know?
desperation, and he's like
Yeah.
typed up that email of, he's like typing up a breaking up email just
Yeah.
before that, and then
Yeah.
all this stuff happens with the graveyard and the.
He's really good too. He's so
He's
understated,
brilliant.
and you
Yeah.
can just see he's got his own issues, but he's not in the bloodline. He's not the part of the hereditary issues or whatever. But he's got his own things, and he's processing him totally differently. And then he just fucking breaks down in the car. Like he was fantastic.
He's actually a therapist in it too.
Yeah,
He's like a
he's supposed to be a
psychiatrist or
therapist, and he's so fucking helpless with his own family. Like you can see him just keeping his head above water for.
But the fact that whole thing about her sleepwalking, I don't sleepwalk. She kept saying, I don't sleepwalk. That stopped. And then she has that weird dream or whatever where she is in his room, and then she's
pulling his head back,
and then it pulls back, and it shows her, and she's covered in kerosene. Like she is actually covered in kerosene.
Yeah.
And she wakes up like, fuck, what's going on? So
I love that one where she was pulling the head. Like you see the hands or whatever, but then the next shot is her standing next to the bed.
Yeah.
So you're like, again, is he having some?
And it's that whole thing. They don't realize what they're doing to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't know. They can't perceive that they're actually being horrible to each other when it's just torturing.
And they go back and forth pretty well. Like they isolate kind of her to go through her own processes, but then they show the kid in the classroom having his little kind of breakdowns and stuff. Like
he has that panic attack in the bleachers.
That's right. Yeah.
No, he's separating himself. You see, it's that sort of thing. The mental illness is sort of taking over him as well, and he's starting to separate from everyone around. Fair enough. You've just necked your sister accidentally,
but also, I mean, doesn't she also tell him that he wasn't?
Yeah, it was an accident.
Yeah, it's an accident.
And she actually says, "I tried to abort you."
Yeah, and I'm just like, not the best thing to be telling.
I never wanted you. And she covers her mouth. Like,
It's crazy. Like you just see, it's so, as you said, it's so well acted. You just see that the issues that are tearing the family apart.
Also in the seance, tell you what got me jumping, where her hair goes. Louis or whatever brushes past her.
Yeah,
that made me jump a mile, like because the camera shot's kind of right on her.
Yeah,
and then it just suddenly goes like that.
When she's in that second seance with her family and she's talking about, I just need to do this. This will fix the family. Like you can just see everything ticking over.
And he's just going, stop this. This is fucking craziness.
Yeah.
And when Charlie's voice goes into Toni Collette and she starts saying, I don't like this. This is scary. Like, oh, I get the fuck. I just got chills up my spine. Then I don't like that shit. Little kids, man.
She has that same during that sequence where she has the dream and she's covered in kerosene. That's where Peter's body's laying in his bed and there's just ants everywhere and then spilling out of his mouth and stuff.
When it just transitions into a proper horror flick right at the end there, and you're hearing the banging, and then you see Toni Collette upside down on the roof, just headbutting the door to get into the loft, whatever it is, the
treehouse or whatever.
That shot before
that is creepy. Yeah, the one where she's chasing.
Yeah, where she's in the corner. When he
out the back. Yeah,
and
that whole thing is chilling.
It's so subtle that you're just looking at him, and then you kind of your eyes get to the corner, and you're like, oh shit,
because you know
she's just kind of sitting there like this, and then they go to another shot, and in the background there's no sound, but you see her go. Kind of go across the wall,
and then
he's chasing. Going, oh man,
it's subtle. She dips past a window, and there's a flash of light or something.
Yeah, and then they get to him in front of the fireplace, finding Gabriel Byrne's body.
Yeah,
you see her in the back, but you could miss it until they do the focus shifts and stuff like that to really put it there. But again, they turn around and go to other places in the room. Really subtle. She's just standing in the corner and then runs at him. It's like, oh man,
no, it's a nude dude at the start.
Oh yeah, that's right.
There's a nude guy sitting there with his tongue hanging out.
He's the one from the funeral.
Yeah,
he's got the same smile. Put your fucking pants on for stuff.
I don't think it'd be like that.
It's the Aphex Twin smile. I swear.
But then you think away and stop smiling.
Then they kind of shift again, and it's just after that where she runs out of the corner.
Yeah, and she sprints at him.
Yeah, it's messed up.
But then there's that whole thing with her in the rafters and the
the piano
she's just floating and
cutting her own head off.
That is a haunting image.
The last 20 minutes is craziness. Like, I actually sort of jotted down Grandma's headless corpse in the attic. Gabriel Byrne's head on fire.
When they unravel, I love it when they unravel though that she's dug up the body.
Yeah, and he's like, you did this.
That's you when you were out watching movies.
You've done this.
But then you see that picture of how deep the grave is and the big pile of dirt. You're like,
but you go into that part about, I mean, clearly, from what we can see, that wasn't her, but he's convinced that it was. We don't know because we're not.
But I think it was the cult that dug her up.
It was cult. It wasn't her, but
you can see why he would think
from our perspective, you can see why
that's
he would
all
think
we've
that.
been given. So we think it's her.
And so then when they go downstairs and she's preparing for the thing to be thrown on and herself to be caught on fire and telling, I love you, and he's just seeing this as the final stages of her just losing it. And he's saying, I can't do this. This is not healthy for us to do. When she grabs the book and flings it on there and he goes up, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. I really dug all that sort of stuff. Like, they both were she was a friggin' powerhouse, but he was just breaking apart himself, but he was just kind of understated and just
his subtlety, composure, and like ability to be such a nice guy, seemingly in that situation, trying to be supportive, trying to keep it together.
You see it at the dinner table where she blows up. He just keeps going, this is going to stop now. It's like, it's not going to stop. Like, she's just ripping him a new one. The other guy's trying to sort of he's trying to sort of interject.
He never really gets angry.
I feel like there's a Barbie jumping before then.
There's that scene in the bedroom. There's that scene in the bedroom after the daughter's died where she's going to go and sleep in the in that tree.
He puts his arm on her shoulder and she goes, I can't sleep, I gotta go.
And then she's like,
she's
like, I'll come back if I feel tired. And he's like, no, you won't. He's like, he knows where it's at, and that's as angry as he gets, as he's allowed to get, seemingly, and ends up just cracking.
So what Jared was saying about the when Toni Collette throws the book in and she thinks one thing's going to happen and the other's real, like the payment thing is actually real. He's actually a god of mischief. So the whole thing where like he just skews what your perceptions are and what you think's going to happen, like that, he does the opposite sort of thing. Apparently it's all legit, like he's actually a real thing. I'm not sure which mythology it's part of, but apparently that all fits in. Like they actually did a lot of research into what he was like. Something like that.
Yeah. Devil
of Hell or something.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool because she thinks, I'm going to sacrifice myself. Like she gets to a stage where she's ready to stop him, and he goes, "Cool, that's what you think's going to happen." But
hasn't he got something to do with arts as well? With the arts, which I guess is which is also tied in with the mental illness.
And the models, and
that artistic side of schizophrenia.
Yeah. Well, a lot of artists have those issues.
Well, there's a full read of this movie where there's no horror at all. Like, there's no occult stuff. It's all mental health issues through the whole thing. So it just depends on what you want to look at it as. A lot of it's probably not real. It might all just be in Toni Collette's head. The whole movie.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. That's the thinking for me was first sort of thinking was the little kid, right? There's something very, very untidy here, and then you hear that grandma breastfed, so you're thinking, right, okay, something's died on the vine on the tree.
Yeah.
Then the kid dies, so then I start thinking, well, Toni Collette, she's gone crazy, and this is her breakdown.
But yeah, she's
but then we go elsewhere. We go to the occult, and we go to this thing about the boy, the son. So it basically, it's almost like chopped up into like 3 parts, so to speak, because it gives you almost like these ideas that you should be onto, but you don't really. I mean, I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong. Obviously, Joan was when she comes into play, you kind of know. That's probably one of my only dislikes is it feels like that
something's off.
You know that something's off about her.
You kind of know. So I didn't quite have it in dislike territory because you know it's off, and you know she says things like, like my mother used to make those kind of mats, and she's like, oh, did she? And then kind of moves the thing along, and then you know the bit with the post through the door, the pamphlet's talking about the seance, but she never see him pick it up, and then Joan comes back and talks about the seance. So you kind of know something there, but again, they just feed it a little bit at a time, and it just ramps up when it needs to.
She's so good though. I love the it's okay, everything's all right, and then she's just freaking out. But then like 2 scenes later, she's like, I've got this really good idea, guys. Let's come and do a seance.
Well, she actually tried one before that. She's like, oh, when I did this before, like Charlie was here. So she actually had to crack at one by herself. But the other thing I listened to when I was on the pod talking about it, the deer in the road, the seance pamphlets, all of that stuff was the cult of Payman trying to move things along to where they needed it to go. So I didn't get that when I watched it. When I listened to it, I'm like, that all makes sense too. Like they had all these balls in play trying to get a certain outcome where they got to, was it Peter, the brother?
To get Peter to be the only child.
Exactly.
And that was the whole. That's exactly what the director was saying about the pieces in the house. That like when you see Toni Collette picking things up and moving them around, that it's basically like that's the cult and the outside influences what they're doing.
Or even Payman moving pieces around.
Well, that's it. Yeah, all the miniatures kind of show you what's going on somewhat. You know.
Yeah. But even with the dioramas, like the one where she recreates, Charlie's death and all that stuff. It's like, did she bring this into existence? Like, was this already a thing before the accident?
Yeah.
And she just didn't sort of put two
and
and two together.
And there's that whole thing of the art place ringing her up and trying to,
trying to get extensions and stuff.
And he's going, you're not going to show him that, are you? And she's got the bloody accident scene and she's painting the blood and the head and everything. And you're just like,
you're not going to let Peter see that. Oh God. She doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. That's bizarre.
Yeah, but the ending is just, whew,
it's kind of
nowhere.
It's kind of upbeat. It's kind of upbeat.
A lot of nudity.
Well, the music is very upbeat in that.
The music sort of swells.
Hope you like old boobs. Peter's happy.
Considering we've got the manifestation of the devil, it's pretty upbeat.
What it actually reminded me of is, and Jared obviously referenced this before, but the end of The Witch, like you didn't get this happy ending. You do not get it with this. Like this guy's been possessed by, a demon, and that's just the end of the movie. He's now these cults worshipping him, and they're going to expect him to bring them riches or whatever else they thought was going to happen. But no one ends happily ever after in this at all.
It seems like it's the way I was looking at it is obviously the family's been torn apart, and some of the people have no longer there clearly, and he's just been left with basically the issues have been passed on to him too.
Yeah.
Like just that cycle going again, that it's passed down the family line. And
It's hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yes.
Ooh, there you
I
go.
like that.
Any
other major likes, people?
I mentioned it a little bit before, but the score, and then in some scenes, the lack of a score is really effective.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a heartbeat in the background. Sometimes it's like this really droning, buzzing sound. And then other scenes, it's just completely silent, and it's just what you're seeing is what you get. And there's like little atmospheric sounds behind it. Like in the school scene when Peter's there and he looks across at the window
and he sees
his own face smiling back at him.
Oh.
And then he gets the click.
Yeah.
There's no score there whatsoever, and it's perfect.
It's creepy as all hell when he looks over and he sees himself going.
I already talked about random people standing there. Fucking shout out to Grandma in the dark after the funeral.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh.
And then you turn the light on and she's gone.
Yeah.
Or even Charlie when Peter wakes up and he looks over and Charlie's there and she nods her head forward and then her head falls off and it turns into a ball on his floor.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
just
understated.
So, understated, but so creepy. And
she doesn't jump out at him. She's just scary as fuck.
Yeah. It's like you don't need to do the jump scares if what you've got is just unsettling to look at, you know?
I like the line when they're in the seance and Peter just is freaking out. It's like, can't you feel the air flexing?
Yeah.
It's a good line.
Like, so vivid, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was really solid.
You know exactly what he's talking about. Nothing specific other than that, though.
No, I think we're all on the same page with a lot of those. What about dislikes? Does anyone have anything major? I mean, I had my only small one was it's a slow burn. It's almost too slow in some parts. It slows right down where, as you say, it took 5 minutes for someone to walk, across the sequences.
I loved it.
For me, that was it.
Yeah,
It was only minor because it only happens like once or twice where I thought, oh, maybe this could go a little bit quicker. But
it was definitely what they call it. It was definitely decompressed.
Yeah.
Methodical.
Very.
But for me, it was. I thought they kind of really nailed the length of it. I didn't think there was anything that I could really say trim that out because a lot of the slow stuff was Tony Collette talking or Tony going back with the family or I really dug that sort of stuff. I had the party, sending the girl to the party.
Yeah, what kind of parent does that? You know what your son's going for.
And
you might not be drinking, but there's going to be tomfoolery there.
The mum wanted a break.
The mum wanted a break, but like, what from? Like, the girl was outside. They just let her keep walking outside.
But also, it was a party for 17, 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And she's sending a
13-year-old there.
Yeah.
It was just like you could
poor
see.
parenting 101.
She seemed okay. It's like what you just said. It's clear that she seemed okay with the boy, but the girl really drove her nuts. And so you could see, she wanted a break from it, but I was just
apparently Charlie was the favourite though, which I didn't get from the mum.
I didn't get that
at all. But I'm looking at it and I'm like,
Pete's supposed to be the black sheep, and it never happens until later on.
Normal.
If your 13-year-old's going, I don't want to go to the party, I'm like, for your mental health,
Go and build some of your little weird tic-tac.
go out in your treehouse. As long as I can see your light on, I'm happy. But yeah, that felt a little bit strange.
That possibly even felt a little bit. Now you bring
Contrived,
it up. Contrived, yeah. We need to get her in a position where we can knock her head off the light bulb.
But I think it just provided an opportunity as well for Toni Collette again to say, "This is your fault. You did this." But really, it was partly her fault
because he fires back.
Yeah, she said a small
He fires back with it. I think it was
kind of
the party.
It was showing the cracks
in the
it was showing some cracks in the family. I had no problems with that.
Also, the chocolate. I was expecting Gabriel Byrne to come out and just go, "Hey, how about we just ease up on the chocolate for a little while?" Eh? If you got a kid who's like allergic to nuts, just say steer clear of any of the chocolate. Just find another snack of choice, would you?
And who likes that much walnuts? That is a whole breadboard of walnuts going into that cake. They weren't going to leave any doubt about whether or not that was a nutty chocolate cake.
Some foreshadowing of stuff all the way through this.
When you talk about the little things that take you out of it, and I think there's a reason for it, but when Peter has the accident with his sister, he never seems to have any kind of... Not that he's not contrite, because I think he's in shock, but there's no repercussions for him at all. It just everyone moves past it. And
there's no police.
They have the funeral,
there's
but
nothing.
even the parents don't talk to him. Or like you don't see any of that stuff. And I get that later on when she has the scene, that you've never apologised, all this stuff. That's fine. But it felt in the movie, it's like he's just driven home, he's got into bed, and everyone's like, oh, fuck, she's dead. I wonder how this happened. Yeah. It felt like that.
It felt like there was no immediate repercussion, but yeah, as you said, they obviously had the dinner table scene. They had the scene where she walks in and says, I didn't want you, and like covers her mouth, and like that all develops as it goes.
There's the
along.
scene.
It was just when it happened.
Well.
Just when it
happened. The scene in the school where the girl that he likes turns around and it's like she's sneaking a peek at him. Where before in the first scene in the school, he's sneaking a peek at her. Yeah. Like it's definitely the relationships have changed after that event's happened.
Yeah, and
even that again under the bleachers, he's still doing the same thing that he used to do. But he's just
out. He's not even engaged with the other guys, and they're not even noticing.
So I didn't get that as a panic attack. I got it as I thought he was having like an allergic reaction, the same as what Charlie did.
Yeah, that was the first thing about the connection between him and her. I thought he was assuming something of what she was there for.
Yeah. And obviously when you talk about the interconnected thing with the bird heads, and then the fact that her grandma's headless, her mum ends up cutting her own head off, she gets beheaded.
I did see it as a panic attack too, though. I saw it as like that was where you're getting the kind of it representing something else. I felt like it looked like panic attack sort of stuff where he doesn't know what it is and it's just come out of nowhere, and it's like just the manifestation of he's shown no emotion about what's going on, and then it just hits like
when he's got that hand twisted. And
he goes all muggy too.
And then the dude turns around and he's like, "What's wrong with you, man? You just like it's just." I felt that was it's probably in the likes, but it was uncomfortable because he's like been possessed. And everyone's like, "What's wrong? Why is this? What have you done to cause this to happen?"
See, I thought he was going to die in that scene. Although that was the end of him. Although this is clearly his Charlie's been knocked off. He's going to get knocked off. I thought it was going to be Tony Collette's movie after that. Yeah. And then they turn it around again. So
I had something like Halloween 3 Final Processing. The sign on the door.
So there was a Dr. Charles character.
We had the sign on the book, Invocations. Just in case you didn't know where to find them, and we had the highlighted passage that explains exactly
spells. Yeah, that was a dislike.
It was that was a bit too much, and also we're taking photos of our secret rituals and leaving the evidence in family photo albums.
Yeah. We're pouring gold coins over grandma.
Yeah. I thought for a movie that had done so well about bringing
that seemed a little bit cheap and a bit of a cheat.
It was just the only part of clumsy kind of...
Yeah. Didn't you find it funny when they were saying... They're talking about... She's talking... When she's doing the big exposition about the mum, she says, we took her into respite after she got dementia. And it was... When Charlie was born, they had her doing respite for like 13 years in the house.
Yeah.
Like it's such a long period.
That's a long time to be took them. But I don't know that necessarily she had dementia. Then she was obviously dealing with other things. Like they put her at one point, she's Queen Ellen or whatever her name was.
Yeah.
So she's obviously Queen Lee, yeah.
For some reason. Ellen was a name and Queen Lee was on the photos.
Yeah. Ellen Lee or Lee Ellen. Yeah. Ellen Lee, I think. But the only other thing I had, and it's obviously... for shock value and stuff like that, but old nude people in movies just does my head in.
Especially when they give you a little wave.
A little wave. Or when there's no warning, you just like you look at it like someone that's scared over here, and then you turn and there's just a whole plethora of weird looking old people all greyed out in the nude. Like,
didn't it change the mood?
I wasn't ready. Right? I wasn't ready. I had a giggle. That's the only reason I don't like it.
I said audio giggle or something. Old nude people.
Beware nudity.
Just.
But in terms of actual real dislikes...
But it's still creepy. It's still a creepy image.
It is.
Of course it is.
Still a creepy image.
My very last one, it's pretty minor again, but when it all comes together about what's happened and that the whole thing was planned, that car accident is pretty fucking difficult to plan it down to that.
But that was only one of the balls they had in the air.
That was there. Well, that was the thing.
But if that fails, what's next?
Well, then they had the seances that they were trying to invoke things that way. Like,
well, how did you know she wasn't going to stick her head out the other window?
But if Charlie survives, then the seances are useless.
But I think that's, again, that ties into the stuff at the beginning.
They're going to have... It's obvious, like...
They would have another crack at trying.
They've been trying this for years with the uncle.
Yeah.
Obviously, they said...
Over the years, that entire family has had this done to them.
Yeah, so...
That's why they've gone crazy.
I mean, in fairness, I think they were happy to commit further if they had to. They ended up in the house with a corpse in the attic.
Yeah.
A big group of them in the nude. So
they're not pass the point of no
They're not worried about overstepping, let's put it that way.
They dug up a corpse and put it in the bay.
Yeah, we're committed now, guys. Can't get back on this.
I just feel like when someone comes to the cult meeting and goes... what about we stick a deer in the road and hope that she happens to be leaning out the window on the other side?
With an eclectic shop. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
That sounds like a good plan.
But see, they might not even been thinking
and then the other
that
one
she's
puts
going
her
to do
hand up and
that.
goes, I've actually dug up Mum's corpse and put it up in the attic. You've done what? You blown it.
They
Here's an idea. How about we all strip off and stand in the corner?
But can we paint ourselves
scary.
white first? Let's go ash and grey, actually, instead.
They set all that up though at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
In the class, they're talking about is it more tragic if they know that their fate is going to happen, or if they don't realise it's going to happen to them?
Yeah, it's very specific, and I feel like it comes down to, obviously, as you said, Paimon has an influence, and this is all happening this way for a reason. It just felt like when they said it, and they'd done things like they'd slipped the seance note through the door. Nobody looked at the seance note.
Yeah.
So how much control did they have over that? You know,
But there was so
they
much
came
of that in
another
there.
one.
There's so much of we give you these clues all the way that you know something bad's going to happen, and then it happens. Why are you shocked? But
But what I mean is, like, they set it up.
Yeah.
That having it happen so that, you know, their symbol is painted on that particular pole. They know her head's going to be out at that time, so we'll put the thing in this.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have said, we were hoping that they'd hit the pole, but then I'm like, well, but the male's in there too, and you need him. Like, it's very, very specific.
Yeah.
They're probably relying on Payman's influence. That's probably why they carved the Payman glyph on the
But see, this is what
thing.
I mean. They've got that, but then at another time in the movie, you get the seance note to say, hey, these guys are all around you, influencing you, but that one goes untouched and doesn't have the desired effect, so they get it another way. So when I look back at the accident, I'm like, they've really nailed the details on that one. Like, they've just got it down to a
finite.
Yeah.
Anything could have slightly changed and would have changed the outcome of what happened.
It seems like it's going in, as it says, they've got no control. They change the details, nothing changes. But then in another part of the movie, it does.
Yeah.
So it was kind of very minor. Like, it's not like
It doesn't hurt the film overall, but you can see why.
It was just, I was thinking about it at the end.
That little planet.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that at the end, especially, like, it's not like I watched that scene in the car again and it had any less impact. I was still, I was expecting it, and I was still like,
okay, chills the second time. Still first time.
That's the sound of the head against wood. It's like, boom.
That whole thing where, like, they've got all these little things happening in the background actually reminded me of that the Will Smith and Margot Robbie movie where he's the like con artist. Focus. You know, he's got the scene where he's betting that the Chinese whale at the NFL game, I think they are. He's betting this big guy, and he's like, I'm going to bet you can't. I'll pick the number of the guy that you're going to find on the field. And he ends up, and the whole time, this guy's been getting subliminal messaging from numbers on the walls in the elevator. Like, that's what I'm sort of talking about. Like, he's getting all this subliminal message all the way to lead him to a certain path.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this sort of felt like.
Yeah.
Very random pull, though, I know. That's a weird one, but same thing.
Was anyone else, was their mood broken when Gabriel Byrne's gone into the closet and he's just like, who the fuck is that guy up there? Anyone else?
I can't remember that scene. What was that one?
It's just when he's in the attic. He sees this dead body. The fuck is that up there? It was just so out of character. It wasn't really a dislike, but I laughed out loud when I saw it.
It was, because especially she's gone and told him and he doesn't believe her. And he comes back down and he's like...
Because he's losing it about other stuff and then he realises how fucked up it is.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought it's such a good movie. I'll watch it again.
Any other dislikes?
No.
At all?
No, that was it for me.
All right, that's Hereditary. Thank you, gentlemen. That was definitely a bloody good movie.
Yes.
You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@ionet.net.au. Like us on Facebook, Thrill Me Podcast Australia. Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com and Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for details of our next episode. But until then, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at ionet.net.au.